Hey neighbors, welcome back to Beer Necessities, how to get beer into your everyday cooking. This is our carving a turkey video. We did two other ones. One was beer brining your turkey and the second was roasting your turkey. So now we have a cooked turkey that has rested for 1 hour. So now it's time to break the turkey down and cut it up and get it ready to eat. First step, we're going to remove our aluminum foil. We're also going to remove our probe thermometer and set it aside. So our bird is ready now to carve. It has rested for an hour and it has cooled some, but it is still pretty hot. So what I recommend is at least one thickness of plastic or vinyl or rubber gloves. I always use the dishwashing type of gloves, but in case it's too hot for just the dishwashing gloves, I will put on another pair of gloves underneath. You don't want to burn yourself. And secondly, you don't want to be, uncomfortable to where you can't cut up your turkey just right because it's too hot to manage. And usually, if your Thanksgiving is anything like mine, by the time 4 hours have gone by, people are getting ready to eat. So there's only so much more time you want to wait before you're ready to go ahead and break your turkey down. Our gloves are on, so we're ready to carve. Here's what you're going to need: a platter to serve your turkey on, a cutting board, a piece of paper towel damp and folded, a bowl, an electric knife, and your turkey roasting pan, as well as an additional empty pan to help you as you break down, and the kitchen gloves that I mentioned before. So what we're gonna start with is we're gonna take our damp folded paper towel and place it underneath our cutting board. This stabilizes your cutting board so that it doesn't slide around while you're working on it. And take our turkey, put it on our cutting board. We're gonna discard our makeshift baking rack that we made in a pinch, and we're gonna save the liquid that came off of our turkey. You can add that liquid directly to my Make-Ahead gravy, or you can add it to any canned or jarred gravy product. It's still really flavorful. You can just add it straight in, so don't throw that away. So the pan that we roasted in, we're gonna use as a garbage pan. The second pan, we're gonna use to put pieces in as we're still cutting them up. And then our platter, that's what we're actually gonna serve on. I do recommend using an electric knife. You can use a sharp chef's knife and a pair of kitchen shears if you have them. I'll tell you though that because of the size of the bird and the size of the bones, it's just more muscle and it's hard to get through all the meat just right. So I use a regular electric knife. They're at Walmart. This one was $12. But as far as safety goes, I know we all drink on Thanksgiving, or most of us do like to drink on Thanksgiving. I'm certainly one of them. Wait till after you've carved your turkey. Okay, the electric knife is no joke. It's a little teeny tiny version of a chainsaw. Keep that in mind. So you don't want to have any disasters. Don't let your drunk uncle carve the turkey, even if he wants to. Just somebody sober needs to carve the turkey. We're going to start with unclipping the trussing that came with the turkey, this little plastic trussing at the bottom. It's not that easy to get out. We're going to go ahead and remove that and put this into our garbage pan, and anything else obvious there that our aromatics that we had in our turkey. I'm gonna snip the skin a little bit around our legs just so I can see what I'm doing. You always want to follow the joints so you can see what you're doing. So you're gonna get a much easier cut if you go right to where the bird is already naturally intersected, like at the knee and at the hip joint. Okay, we're going to remove the legs at the hip joint. So you can see here that this is where it naturally opens, so it makes it a lot easier. You're not going to be able to cut through bone with this electric knife, so just stick to where your joints are. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to set this aside to work with for later. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Open it up a bit more so I can see. There we go. Okay, so now we're also going to set that aside. So this is your dark meat, and set that aside for later. Now you can make your own choice here. You can go ahead and start with your breast meat, or you can remove your wings. Doesn't really matter which order you go in at this point. In my family, we don't eat a ton of the wing meat, so I don't do a ton to preserve the look of it. go. You can hear that pop where you're right on the joint. Remove that, set it aside, and go to our other wing. So now we just have our white meat. I'm gonna keep removing the pieces of the aromatics that I had inside. Those are just garbage, we're not gonna eat them. So now we're gonna go straight down the middle of our white meat. Like I said before, this really won't cut through bone, so you're gonna have to finagle it a little bit. Luckily, your breast meat is connected by cartilage mainly, but you do have a bone here, so be careful. See if we can open it up so we can see a little bit. So we've gotten through some of the cartilage. I'm gonna go up the middle with my scissors and see if I can get it to really crack. Because of the wishbone and the top part of the cartilage there, the sternum of the chicken, I'm gonna just crack it open with my chef's knife. Now we've sort of opened it all the way up. There we go. All right, we're gonna just snip it open. Okay, now we're sort of butterfly. This isn't very easy. This is why I made a separate video about it. So if you need kitchen shears, a knife, your husband or boyfriend, whatever you need, try to use it. And that's why I use the gloves, because there is so much finagling. Don't get freaked out. We're only halfway done, and it's gonna get easier. Okay, so we're butterfly. Now I'm gonna flip it over. We're gonna cut straight up the side of the backbone and just remove this spine part, the backbone. This is one of your breasts. We're gonna set that aside for now. I'm just gonna try to find where the joint connects. Sometimes it's hard to see. So we've wrestled our backbone free. We're setting aside, this is all of our usable meat. Now that's not to say there's not any usable meat here. There definitely is some parts on here that you want, especially what's called your oysters. I'm gonna show you that. There's a little tiny pocket of meat on basically the top of the thigh near the backbone. So I just remove it by hand. It's almost like nature's chicken nugget. It is delicious. You'd hate to throw it away, but it's not beautiful. You're just gonna kind of pop it out of there. Any cook in the world knows that this is pretty yummy. You hate to miss out on that. That's probably the day of Thanksgiving usable parts of your turkey. They're all set aside here. If you're a pretty hardcore cook or you like to do a lot with leftovers, you can save your backbone, use it for a stock, use it for a soup. You may get a few more little bits of meat off of it, or you can just throw it away. I mean, at this point, it's up to you. Okay, so we've broken our turkey down into the primary parts. We've disposed of the trash that we had, and we're ready now to start slicing up your turkey to serve. I'm gonna give you a couple of tips here though. I have a dog I love, I spoil him. I mentioned in another video that I just microwave the offal meat out of the middle of the turkey and give it to my dog. Be aware though that the bones are not a good idea for your dogs. And the other quick note I'll say is, if you get to this point in breaking your turkey down and you find that it is underdone, so if you're seeing pink streaks and red and things like that and you're not comfortable with it, don't feel like it's quite done all the way, go ahead and complete the slicing process like I'm showing you here. Put it back into your cooking dish, cover it with the cooking liquid that we poured off of the bottom of the dish. You can put foil on it or not, it's up to you. Stick it back in your oven at 350. Check it every 10 to 15 minutes until you get rid of all that pink. You're still gonna have a really good bird there. You're not gonna make anybody sick, and you're not gonna overcook anything. And once it's all done, it'll be nice and hot and delicious, and you just pull it out. So that maybe pushes you back 30, 45 minutes at the most if you find some underdone spots. But that's how I would do it. Go ahead and break it all the way down, slice it, put it back in your baking dish, put a little bit of your cooking liquid that came off of the bottom of your turkey, put it back on there, stick it back in the oven. Okay, now we're ready to start slicing our bird. I'm gonna start with the one of the breasts. I've got my electric knife and my scissors. So as you flip it over, you're gonna see where you have the rib meat and the inside of the breastbone. Take your scissors. You're just gonna snip it away, keeping as much meat as you can while you just get rid of that. I'm gonna use my fingers to identify the bones so I don't waste a lot of meat. This is why these kitchen gloves are so important, because this is hot. So I'm gonna slide my thumb right here underneath the breastbone. It's got a little connective tissue so that we can kind of remove that. And then I'm gonna slide my scissors right between the meat and the bone and start snipping it away. You know, you don't wanna waste a lot of your meat here. Alright, so I'm able to just slide my fingers underneath the bone and sort of get rid of this bone without trashing a lot of my meat. So that's your breastbone. Now we've got this is just meat essentially. There's really nothing else on here that you can't eat. If you see some wobbly bits of fat that you don't want, just trim them off with your scissors. And now we're gonna just slice with our electric knife. Got one little rogue piece here I'm just gonna snip with my scissors. This is still real good, usable meat, so I'm just gonna stick it on my platter. Trim away kind of yuckiness. Keep in mind that if you don't wanna eat it, nobody else does either. So if you see something on there and you think, that doesn't really matter, go ahead and take it off. I mean, if it's something that you don't want, they probably don't want either. So now, I do leave all my skin on my breast, okay? I think it looks a lot prettier that way. So now we've got a nice big piece go on our platter. And I cut them probably a finger width apart. That's totally up to you, depends on how you want to do it. If you're a big sandwich person for the next day, you may want to go a little thinner than I did, maybe half as thick as I did. Okay, our white meat is all cut up and ready to go. Individual slices, just perfect. I do see a couple little bits of meat stuck onto my bones that I will pull off and just set out in little pieces. I don't think it has to be perfect. It kind of depends on who you're serving and what your personal standard for that is. Okay, so our white meat is now sliced in on the platter. Now we're gonna do our dark meat. How I prefer doing it is leaving the turkey leg whole. There's always somebody at the party that likes a whole turkey leg, in my experience. And usually it's one of the kids. So I just snip it at the joint like we talked about before. Find, kind of open it up, find where your joint is, and just cut it free. It has great presentation. Stick it right on the platter. It's adorable. Very, very simple. And then with our thigh meat, it is never gonna be as pretty as our breast meat, but it's twice as delicious. So I guess that's how things work out. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna find the bone, snip along the bone to sort of expose it. Snipping right alongside the joint, all that connective tissue away so we save all of our meat. Now we've got about as much meat as you're gonna get from your thigh. It does have more connective tissue, so you're not really gonna be able to get rid of all of that, but usually your people that like dark meat know that and don't really care. Also, because of the positioning, the skin is never going to be as pretty and as crispy, so I do trim a little bit more of it away than I do on my white meat. That looks pretty good. I'm not going to use the electric knife on this one because it's kind of slippery, and I'm not going to get such good slices anyway, so I'm just going to use my chef's knife. If you see any natural pieces that are just nice good chunks, just pull those off. I do arrange my platter so that my dark meat is on one side and my white meat is on another. It just makes it easier for your guests. See, we got right through the joint that way. That's the easiest way to do that. Bring your turkey legs out. They're always a showstopper. Our dark meat is cut and our white meat is cut. We do have the issue of our turkey wings. There is some meat on here. It is not the easiest to get off. My personal opinion, I save these for the next day, and when I make turkey jambalaya, I stick them in there and let them boil and the meat comes right off. If you want to fiddle with it, you do the same thing. You break it at the joint. We mentioned the wingtip has almost no meat on it, so it just goes in the trash pile. You've got a decent looking piece here, not a ton of meat. You could just serve it like this. And your other piece, your kind of drumette part, same thing. I sort of roll the bone out with my fingers, get as much of the meat as I can, snip away any yucky parts. That's kind of the motto. If you see any sinew or fat or anything that your guests aren't going to want, I just pull it right off. Okay, so our turkey is roasted, rested, carved, plattered up, and ready to go. Before you go off and enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving, keep in mind that anything you used to break down your turkey, your cutting board, your knives, your scissors, your electric knife, that all needs to get washed immediately. Just in case you do have a little bit of your bird or anything that is a little undercooked, we don't want any of that left out on the countertop. I know it's not a fun time to stick things in the dishwasher right before you serve a big meal for Thanksgiving, but always keep in mind food safety. That'll really ruin your party if everybody gets sick. And thank you for joining us. Stay tuned to our next video, which is going to be my make-ahead gravy. You can use it for Thanksgiving and you can use it for almost anything else. It is a great all-purpose gravy. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, neighbors.